Hello again. For once, it's not been that long. 2 videos in a week. Wow, is this a new me? Unfortunately not. Don't get excited. So I've just recently returned from America, and I thought I'd make a video informing you guys on the whole process of returning from an amber listed country, in case you weren't sure about anything or you wanted some clarification or some ideas. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things, especially with the tests, so I'll link everything down below. All the cheap things I find, I'll link them below. I'm going to try not to talk for too long because the light's going and my SD card doesn't have the most storage on right now. I know, my own fault, but whatever, so let's get through this. So the process wasn't easy, but it also wasn't like too difficult. So let's just go right into it and start with the 3 days before your departure. So you have to test within 3 days of leaving the country that you're in. So for me, America. I know for some this could be quite difficult, being in a country that you don't know. I was lucky enough and I could take this test at my university. I know a lot of airlines try to recommend places you can get tested or even provide you with their own, so check with them. If not, I think the government have some information on the gov.uk website under the country that you're in, so check that out. Again, I'll link that below. I think you can only take a PCR or an antigen test. I took a PCR test. Hopefully you get your results in time, because if you do take a PCR test, they normally take between 24 to 72 hours to get your results. I think I got mine in about 36 hours, but it varies on different testing centres. Whereas the antigen test is probably safer. This, you get your results the same day. I think you can get them within like 30 minutes. I took one in this country and I think I had my results in even 20 minutes. This is unlikely, but if by the off chance that you are flying from JFK, they are offering free antigen tests before 6 PM in Terminal 5. So if they're doing that, then it might be worth checking to see if the airport you're flying from is offering them too. So as well as this test that you need to take before your departure, you will also need to buy the 2 tests that you have to take in England before your departure. And I'll explain why in a second. So you have to test on day 2 and day 8 when you arrive in the UK, as well as quarantining for 10 days. These cannot be done on the NHS. You have to buy them, and they can be quite costly. Now I'm going to give you the cheapest ones I found and which one I took. I guess I'm just not supposed to film this video today with the sun going down and my camera making funny noises. I would recommend buying these tests as soon as possible, like 2 weeks before you travel or a week, because they can get booked up pretty quickly. Your airline should recommend some places to buy the tests from. This is what I did. I flew British Airways and I looked on their website. They suggest about 5 different companies. I chose Randox Health. They give you discount codes as well. Most airlines will do this. British Airways actually gave quite a big discount, £55, which took the test down to £120, well, for both tests. So that's for your day 2 and day 8 test. It's like a package, and for total it was £120, so really not that bad. If your airline doesn't recommend any tests or they're too expensive, there is a whole list that the government recommends that are approved on the gov.uk website. Again, I'll link it below. So like I said, you must buy these tests before you leave, and for this next part I'll explain why. So 48 hours before your departure, you must fill out a passenger locator form. I think you have to do this wherever you travel from. It's very simple, but it does ask you for a lot of your details, such as your flight number and your arrival time, and you must input the booking reference of your day 2 and day 8 test. So the test you purchased when you arrived in the UK, on the email it should give you the booking reference. On Randox it was very easy to find, and you just input that. Now, when you arrive at the airport, when you check in, they'll ask to see proof of your negative COVID test and your passenger locator form. They're not too strict on the negative COVID test, just make sure you have all of this stuff because this is what it says on the government website. The passenger locator form, they check that the passport numbers matched, and then they check the booking reference of the 2 tests that I brought. Personally, I printed both my test out and the passenger locator form just because I found that easier, and in case my phone died or I couldn't find it on my phone, but you can show them it digitally, but obviously I would recommend you print it out as well just in case. From memory, I only had to show them it at the check-in desk. I don't remember showing it at security or when boarding the plane, but I'm not 100% sure on that, and obviously it might be different for wherever you travel. So yeah, that was pretty much it for getting out of America. Now, arriving into England was pretty simple. I landed at Heathrow and it was just like arriving during normal times. Well, like in terms of where you go and using the e-gates, obviously there was social distancing implemented, but everything else was kind of the same. You just go up to the e-gates, put your passport in like normal, look at it, and then the gates open. The man directing us, from memory, I think did ask to see our passenger locator form, but he literally just checked we had it, he didn't even look at it. And that's pretty much it for the airport, very simple. Once I got out, I got picked up and went to my home because that's where I said I was going to quarantine. And now you do have to quarantine for 10 days when you arrive, and like you actually do, and they actually check. And I'll tell you about my experience and things I've heard in a minute. So I quarantined in my room, and yes, it was boring, but like it's not exactly difficult, so just do it. You are allowed out for like essential food shopping, to collect medication, and to drop off your COVID tests. So my experience of taking the tests were pretty simple. You take your first one on day 2, or I think you can even take it on day 1. The day you arrive, oh, this is interesting, the day you arrive into the country counts as day 0, so like it doesn't really count, so the next day is day 1, which is kind of annoying if you arrive in the morning like I did. But anyway, I'm in a rush and yeah, I'm going on about things. So you take this on day 2, you just follow the instructions. It's just like taking any other COVID test. You register the test online. Just make sure you copy the URN correctly, as this is how they like match the tests. They do ask for a lot of information when you're doing it. So here's a list of things you need to have with you and to know. Your name, pretty easy. Your date of birth, address, URN number, what test day number, if you've had the vaccine, if so, what vaccine, passport number, booking reference of the test, date of arrival, time of arrival, flight number, country of departure, country, traffic light colour, date you took the swab, time you took it, and then your NHS number was optional. If you use a different company, things might be different, but it's probably going to be pretty similar. Taking the test was like taking any other COVID test. Wash your hands, swab your tonsils, figured you didn't really want to see that. Then stick the swab up both nostrils. Don't know why you'd want to see that either, but I did it anyway. Put it in the liquid thing, which apparently I struggled with. Wash your hands, put it in the cylinder, and then put it in the clear plastic bag. make sure you stick the URN number on the clear plastic bag, seal it, put it in the box, then put the box in the outer bag. Yeah, very, very simple and easy. They give you instructions too, so just follow that. The company, so Randox, the company I chose, do give you different ways to drop the box off. They have drop-off locations around the country in like big towns and cities, or you can post it. They give you like a posting label, but it's weird. I don't know how it worked. I didn't really read it, to be honest. And then they also work with another company that they give you options for that too. Personally, I chose to just drop it off at one of their drop-off locations because that sounded the most simplest, and there was one like 30 minutes away. So I was like, oh, a bit of freedom for an hour to drive there and drive back. The times vary for locations, so where I dropped it off, the last time was 5 o'clock. Well, like, anything dropped off after 5 will be collected the next day, so obviously you would get your test result later. Doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, you can check all the locations on the website. It was difficult to find, not the easiest, so I'll link it below. If you do drop it off, remember to stick this sticker on it. I don't know why, but it says so in the instructions. The next day at like 9 AM, I had an email saying they'd received my test, and by 5 or 6 PM, I had another email with my results confirming that I was negative. Okay, so now on to the reason why you actually have to quarantine. So on day 8, security actually knocked on my door and asked to see me to make sure that I was in fact quarantining where I said I was quarantining, that I was doing it. It wasn't too long, it was probably 5 minutes. He just asked to see a form of ID, so I gave him my passport. He checked that against his details, and then he basically confirmed that you have to quarantine for the full 10 days and asked me if I needed like any extra support, like for mental health or anything, which I'm fine, but like I'm on day 8, come on, bit late asking now. Anyway, I've read that this happens a lot, that a lot of people do get checked. Also heard that they have phoned a few people as well to make sure they're doing that. So yeah, like you can't get around this. The chances are they will check on you. I've heard so many stories of security coming to people's doors and checking. So yeah, day 8, that afternoon I took the test, went through the whole process again, dropped it off, got my result the next day, again negative. So if you get negative tests on both the days, then you can come out of quarantine on day 10. But this is where it's annoying. They say you have to quarantine like the full 10 days. So like you can't come out until like your 11th day. So I landed Thursday, so my first day out of quarantine will be tomorrow, which is like the following Monday, like 2 Mondays, if that makes sense. I'm sure you can work it out. So now there is a way you can get out of quarantine on day 5, but this requires buying an extra test. So you can do the test to release scheme. The cheapest one I found was one that BA recommended. Again, they give you a discount. The cheapest one I found was with Randox, so you could do all the tests with Randox. I think it was only £60, which really isn't too bad if you're like desperate to get out of quarantine. You do have to quarantine until you receive the negative result, so you probably won't get out of quarantine until day 6 or day 7. So like, is it really that worth it unless like you have to work? I don't know, there's definitely going to be reasons behind it. But if you do the test to release scheme, you still must take the day 8 test. You don't obviously have to quarantine, but you still have to take the day 8 test. Yeah, and so once you've done your day 5 test, you can come out of quarantine, well, once you have your result, and just take the day 8 test. If you're not doing the test to release scheme, you take your day 8 test, and if it's negative, then you can come out after your 10 days. If your test does come back positive, you will have to quarantine for 10 days after that positive result. So if you test positive on day 8, then you have another 10 days of quarantining, which is quite a lot. So I think I've covered everything. Like I said, I'll link everything below. So just quickly, before you leave your amber country, you need to order your day 2 and your day 8 test. Then 3 days before your departure, you have to test negative. And then 48 hours before your departure, fill out the passenger locator form. present both of those when you check in, and then when you arrive in the UK, quarantine for 10 days, and you have to take your test on day 2 and day 8, and if you do the test release, you have to take that on day 5. I really hope this helps you if any are confused by the process or you want any tips. I mean, I can't really give many tips apart from the cheapest tests I found. Feel free to comment any questions below. I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Just make sure you're being safe and happy travelling. I hope if you're planning on coming back to the UK from an amber country that you get back safely and everything works out for you. Things still can change. I know they said they're re-evaluating things like every 2 weeks. So if this video could even be a day old and it might be out of date, things might have changed. So make sure you just double check on the Gov website that this still is the process. I'm on my last day of quarantine, and as far as I'm aware, it's not changed yet. I'm finally free tomorrow, or by the time you're watching this, I'm free. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I hope I helped you. Any questions, comment below. Feel free to subscribe, like this video if it helped. I'm sorry if I talked too much, and I'm sorry if my camera was making noises or the lights going. Just apparently I wasn't meant to make this video today. I hope I didn't talk too quickly. Like I said, I'll list everything below as well. So yeah, have a great day, travel safe, goodbye.